We've reached the month of November. It's week 10. We've also reached politicking season. I'm not sure if it's happening earlier than before, but if you get on social media at all, it seems worse than ever before. But of course, we're here to talk about ball on the field. We got a couple of huge showdowns in the Big 12 with massive implications. Of course, as is the case every week, more SEC matchups that will make or break playoff hopes and a couple sneaky under the radar games to touch on. It took 2 overtimes for us to lose our upset alert streak last week, but we're back at it again this week. And yes, of course, we have a plethora of best bets in which I am 34-27 on the year. Lance is 33-26, both 7 games over 500. That's a profit right there. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. Real quick before we get started, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Make sure you like the video, comment on it, and make sure you follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Lance, let's get right into our big game breakdown, sponsored by Branded Bills. The link is in the top right of the top right QR code there, or it's in our description of our episode. Lance is rocking the, he's rocking the sideways hat there. He showed you it was Branded Bills there. It's good stuff, man. They've got a lot of good hats. Type in the code Branded15 for 50% off of your first order. This has got to be the first time ever that we have started off big game breakdowns with the Cincinnati Bearcats, right?
Absolutely.
Let's start off in Salt Lake City, number 17, Cincinnati at number 24, Utah. The Utes currently 8.5-point favorite. That game will kick off at 10:15 Eastern on ESPN. Bearcats, when I was looking at this game, man, they low-key have one of the best offensive lines in the country that nobody talks about. They're number 1 in offensive line run push, number 1 in sacks given up. Brendan Sorsby, that quarterback, man, he's thrown 20 touchdowns to only 1 interception. They've won 7 games in a row. They lost that opening game in Arrowhead, which was a home game for them. It was at neutral site in Arrowhead where they lost to Nebraska by 3 points, and everyone's kind of like, Nebraska might not be that good. No, Cincinnati might just be that good this year. They're second in the country in points per play. They got 3 guys with over 400 yards rushing, including Brendan Sorsby. Unfortunately for them, Evan Pryor, their leading rusher, is going to be out for this game. So they're going to lead on Wisconsin running back Tyree Walker against that Utah defense. That Morgan Scalley-led Utah defense is number 11 in defensive stop rate. And since the Texas Tech game, Utah is 5th in pick sixes game grader. So they're playing the 5th best ball of anybody here in the last month.
Yeah, man, they're just playing really good football right now. They blasted Colorado last week with backup quarterback. And dude, I was telling you before this, is there a more like just seem like Utah quarterback name than Bird Ficklin?
Nope.
Yeah, there really isn't. I know it's the Devin Dampier show, and also stop me if you've heard this before. We're going into a Utah game where we've got questions with who's going to play quarterback in regards to the injury reports, and there is nobody, not a single team in all of college football that is more of a head scratcher and frustration and borderline should be somewhat penalized for how they handle the injury reports in regards to their quarterback situation than Utah and Whittingham. We love us some Kyle Whittingham. We love the Utes, but man, it's just ridiculous how they handle that. It's been going on for years now. But anyway, I think Dampier is going to start and going to be playing this week. Just my total guess on that at this point. And but I mean, Ficklin had over 100 yards. He had like 150 yards rushing last week against Colorado and played well in that game. So the Utah rushing attack, no matter who the quarterback's going to be, is going to be the key in this game. I mean, that's just where it starts with Utah. Cincinnati's got to be able to slow down the Utah running game. If they can, they'll have a chance to win this game outright. If they can't, Utah could get on them pretty good. I think it tells you what it doesn't shock me when you're talking about the game grader deal there with Pick Six previews that Vegas and the wise guys have this line currently at, like you said, 8.5. It's gotten up as high as 9.5.
Yeah, what did it open up with on Sunday night? Like we talked about a guest spread. It was like 7.5. It was bet up to 9.5, like you said.
Yep, got up to 9.5. And on that episode, I almost pulled the trigger immediately on that. More on that here in a second. But yeah, with Cincinnati, you hit on it, man. Sorsby has been as solid as a dual threat quarterback in the Big 12. I know Devin Dampier's dual threat as well, but 20 passing touchdowns for Sorsby, 7 rushing touchdowns. You mentioned the rushing yard numbers there as well. The offensive line has been fantastic for them, like you talked about. Defensively, they've been a little suspect this year, since he has at times. But yeah, they have. They've been a little
Yeah.
suspect at times.
I mean, they can't create negative plays. That's a problem.
Yep. They're not creating negative plays. That was obviously Texas Tech when they beat Utah earlier in the year. That was something they did really well. If you think about it, the 2 teams that Utah has lost to are, Utah, BYU, and Texas Tech are your 3 best defenses in the Big 12. And Utah lost to the 2 teams that have the other 2 better defenses besides them in the Big 12. And I don't think there's any, secret to that. Utah and Kyle Whittingham's teams, the better teams for Utah over the last several years, are when they can line up and impose their will on you physically, like they did to Colorado last week, like they did to Arizona State when they didn't have their starting QB in that game, and Jeff Sims had to start for Arizona State at Utah. So I think Cincinnati physically, like the strengths of their team are the defensive line and the offensive line. They're very good on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Corleone, the defensive tackle, the man in the middle there for Cincinnati, is one of the best in the country. He's going to be a high NFL draft pick for a reason. So they've got to be able to hold up physically on the line of scrimmage, and we've got to be able to slow down that Utah running game. And as well as I do, anytime you're playing at night at Rice Eccles, cannot. This goes for any game, obviously, but you cannot turn the football over there at night, or things can snowball in a hurry against you. The good news for that is, again, Sorsby, having a veteran guy like that, he doesn't really turn the football over much. That sucks about Evan Pryor, man. Not being, you want to see when you have a matchup like this where it's got conference championship implications. You want to see both teams at full strength. So that sucks for Cincy that Pryor will not be playing. Talley Walker, the transfer from Wisconsin, has been productive for them this year, but not really overall as good as Pryor has been. But a guy that I want to mention, he is the most explosive player in this game offensively for either team. Wide receiver Cyrus Allen. He was very productive in 2022 and 2023 at Louisiana Tech. He transferred up to La Tech to Texas A&M, and then he transferred from an A&M to where he's at Cincy this year. Cyrus Allen has 9 receiving touchdowns on the year, which is second in the entire country, only behind Elijah Surratt at Indiana. So that's obviously Brennan Sorsby's favorite target, and he's averages a lot of yards per catch. He's explosive. So Utah will need to bottle him up. What are your thoughts on Cincy being able to go on the road and be able to beat a Utah team like this? So right now, Cincinnati's only true road game, if I'm not mistaken, in Big 12 play has been at Kansas, right?
Yeah. When they won that game, was like 5.5-point underdogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
by the way, real quick, no offense to Lawrence, Kansas. It's not Utah.
Yeah.
That's not Rice Eccles.
My big question is, can Cincinnati's defense level up in this game on the road at night in Rice Eccles?
Yeah.
It's a lot different than what A&M or Texas Tech played in earlier this year with a 10 a.m. kick.
Yeah.
You're talking 10 hours later in the day. And so I don't know. Again, in the coaching matchup, we love Whittingham. We love Kyle Whittingham. I don't think anybody would try to argue Scott Satterfield as a better coach than Kyle Whittingham. So I think the coaching edge goes to Utah. And I think more, I would be nervous just by seeing Utah's front lines get dominated by Texas Tech at home about a month ago. I would be nervous about that if it were, anybody else but Cincinnati's defensive line. I know the Corleone's good, but the defensive line, like we said, is just, they can't create negative plays this year.
Yeah.
They really, and you talked about it. Utah's running game is 5th in the country, 267 rushing yards per game. So, that's really the big thing for me is can Cincinnati, against the crowd, against everything going against them, can they level up in this game?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for me to call that there, man. And like we were talking about the line a little bit earlier, I do have I have a best bet in this game, and I got Utah when it was at 8. So I took Utah -8 as a best bet in this game, and they will probably be used in my only idiots bet college teasers one of those this week. I'm probably
Yeah.
going to have a couple of those, so be on the lookout for those on our socials on X, Instagram, TikTok, all that. I'll probably have some info on that later this week in regards to which games I'm going to be doing that on. I'm 3-0 on the year on those, but looking at Utah in that spot. But anyway, Utah right now at -8, again, lower ranked team, 2-loss team, laying 8 points. Like you said, the game grader metric, all the wise guys obviously like Utah in this spot. It's just hard for me, man, to think that Cincinnati right now, with like we talked about, with the kind of the issues that they've got defensively, I just don't think that they're going to be able to go into Rice Eccles at night and beat this Utah team. I think also too, this is it for Utah. Like, this is it. Back against the wall. They cannot lose another game. Their season is on the line in this spot. And I've still got enough respect for Kyle Whittingham, offensive coordinator Jason Beck, and defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley, and this roster, that offensive line, that defensive front for Utah, and whoever plays quarterback. Like, I do think Devin Dampier is going to play. But what I saw game one from Bird Ficklin, they're running the same style of offense. It's not like they're bringing in the Bryson Barnes, the old pig farmer,
Yeah.
bringing somebody else in that like has to run a completely different style of offense. They're running the same style of offense, and I just really like Utah's defense in this game, and I think they're going to get it done and cover the -8 in this spot.
I don't have a best bet in this game. But yeah, if I had to go one way or another, we talked about it, how, we might disagree a little bit on the show. I mean, when it was at 9.5, like, I took a long hard at Cincinnati just because the nature of Big 12 games and how close they are and how close all the teams are together. And we talked about, there's been like what, 9 games this year where like it was an unranked team who was favored over a ranked team, and the unranked team 6-3, and you were on the losing side of two of those. So if you're
Mhm.
going to take for Utah, I was just going to take the opposite of Utah and take the opposite of you. So
Hey, I'm 3-2 in those games, though. I've
there you
lost
go.
2,
Yeah,
but I'm 3-2 on the year in those games.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I just again, man, I just think the Utah's defense and just overall, I think Cincinnati's a really good football team, but they haven't earned my respect fully enough yet to go into Rice Eccles at night and handle their business. Not to this point.
Yeah, it should be a good one. College game day will be there. So it should be a raucous atmosphere on Saturday morning in Salt Lake City. Number 9, Vanderbilt, going on the road after playing 2 straight ranked opponents at home, going on the road to play number 20, Texas. Texas is currently 2.5-point favorite. They opened at 2.5. It got down to 1.5, back up to 2.5 tonight. It's going to be noon on ABC, I believe. Vandy uses the running game like a lot of teams use the passing game. They use the running game like to create explosives, kind of like Michigan does. Like, they're 7th in the country in rush explosives. They're only 60th in explosive passing game. So because of that offense that they run there with Diego Pavia, and I mean, you saw it last week against Missouri. They broke that 80-yard touchdown run. They did the same thing against Alabama a couple weeks ago. They broke a couple long runs. Like, they create explosiveness through that running game. The problem is going to play that Texas defense, which we did see they did get diced up, but they got diced up by the Blake Shapen passing game with Mississippi State last week. That running game, that front seven is still good with Anthony Hill Jr. and Colin Simmons and a lot of those guys. Big question for me is, can they get any sort of pressure with their defensive line on whoever is going to start for Texas, whether it's Arch Manning, we know he's in concussion protocol right now. Could be Matthew Caldwell, who threw one pass for one touchdown last week. The question is, can Vanderbilt control that line of scrimmage? Can their defensive line control the line of scrimmage when Texas has the ball? Because Texas has had trouble with their offensive line and with running the ball this year.
It's just hard for me, man, at this point to see Texas just being all of a sudden really good offensively. No
We
matter
talk about
really,
in November, you are what you are, right?
yeah, I just think they
Yeah.
are who they are at this point offensively. They may play a little bit better. I mean, they did some things that were, a little bit better throughout different parts of the game against Oklahoma. They had their moments in different parts of the game against Mississippi State. Uh, it's just, I just think at this point, Texas they're just not very good offensively, but they have playmakers that at any moment during the game they could all of a sudden make a big play or they can put a little drive together here and there. But just consistently being what we thought this Texas offense was going to be, like you said, I mean, bro, we're basically going into November. It is what it is at this point. I just still have a ton of faith in this Texas defense. I do. I know that they gave up a ton of points last week at Mississippi State. I personally have a lot of respect for Jeff Lebby and his ability to, on the offensive side of the ball and calling plays. And Mississippi State has lit it up against Tennessee at home. They lit up Arizona State at home. They also lit up Texas. Like they've done really well this year offensively overall.
You're not gonna equate Tennessee's defense and Texas's defense,
No,
are
I'm
you?
not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. But I just think again, I believe in Texas still has absolute freaking dudes on that side of the ball and one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. Like there's a reason why they're the number 2 rush defense in the Power 4 still today. Uh, so my thing with this is this is again, I did it a couple of weeks ago with them. I called it my wounded animal game of the week when they came into that Oklahoma game. They listened all that week to how trash they were. They were soft, that they were about to be just a sacrificial lamb to their arch rival, Oklahoma. It was going to be the John Mateer welcome back party, and they just happened to have a front row seat to it. And they came out and played their butts off and played an inspired effort and stuck it to Oklahoma. Then they go on the road to back-to-back road games and struggle in both of those games and got extremely lucky to come out with wins in both of those games at Kentucky and at Mississippi State. Dude, this mind-blowing to me. I texted you this earlier. This is the first time Texas has been at home since September the 20th.
Mhm.
Like, I feel sorry for the Texas season ticket holders for their home games this year. Their home schedule's booty
Yep.
this year. But again, this is it. This is your season. Back against the wall. Gotta have it if you're Texas. But on the flip side of that, you look at that Vandy schedule. I mean, man, if they go on the road and win this game, you could very well be sitting there at one point looking at Vandy that they're in a game to where they will play Tennessee it could come down to Vandy, Tennessee at the end of the year for a playoff spot, which is wild to think about. But I think that Texas has the ingredients against this Vandy team to give them a ton of trouble because of how good and how talented Texas is with their linebacker position with Anthony Hill Jr., their overall linebacker position in general, one of the best groups in the country. Colin Simmons coming off the edge, that defensive front. Like, I think that they can give Diego Pavia and Vandy a ton of trouble with their defense and can really, like, dude, last week it kind of caught me out. Like, Texas has better athletes and better players than Missouri does. And Missouri, what they were able to do last week defensively against this Vandy team, like, I think Texas can do that and do better against this Vandy offense, personally. Like, I don't think that Vandy's going to be able to have a lot of success running the football. Most teams aren't against this Texas group. And I don't know that Vandy can just drop back with Diego Pavia and keep the pass rush off of him that Texas is going to be bringing there with the Colin Simmons and the Anthony Hill Juniors in the interior of that defensive front, the Murad Watsons and that crew consistently for 4 quarters. I just think, again, it's going to be a situation where because Texas is so bad offensively, Vandy is solid defensively, Texas is so good defensively, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game, again,
Mhm.
in a Texas game. It's going to be a lower-scoring game. Defenses are going to win the battle, and this game will be won on third down. Vandy's one of the better third down teams in the country. They're good at third down offense. They're good at getting you off the field on third down defense. Texas has been good on those, not on offensively, but has been good defensively with that in that situation. So this game will be won on defense and who can score 6 in the red zone. Who can get 6 in the red zone and not kick field goals? Because I think it's going to be a lower scoring game and points will be at a premium.
Yeah, for me, I mean, Vandy's pulling a stretch right now, like Alabama did. They're playing 4 straight ranked opponents. They had
Uh-huh.
Alabama, they had LSU, Missouri, and now Texas. And it's just hard for me to believe that Vandy has the depth. I think they've done so well. Barton Simmons has done so well. Clark Lee, they've done so well getting the most out of their players there. it's hard for me to believe that Vanderbilt is at the point where they have, like, the depth of talent that a lot of the bigger SEC schools do. And I mean, again, we're not saying Texas is anything to write home about. They're number 28 people. We don't have them in our top 25. Like, we don't think they should be ranked. But again, if you factor that in, that's another case where they are favored by Vegas. And with you talking about, again, I was on the opposite side of you in that Red River game, and because of that, and because of what you mentioned again, I'm going to take Texas in this game. It's not a best bet right now, but if I were to bet it right now today, I would take Texas minus 2.5. I just think that, like you said, backs against the wall. They can't lose another game. They're playing at home for the first time in over a month. I just think that they have the tools to get it done against Vanderbilt, who'll be playing their fourth straight ranked opponent.
Yep, and I do have a best bet in this game. I'm taking under 45 in this game. I took the under in the Red River game
Yep.
and got there easily. I think that this will be another one. Like I don't see Texas all of a sudden just lighting it up offensively, and I think their defense will absolutely slow Vandy down to the point to where this will be a lower scoring, uh, ugly type of game. Uh, won't be a ton of yardage, period, overall. I think Vandy's fine playing that style of game as well, just possessing the football, trying to run some clock, get it to the fourth quarter type deal. So I think the under is the play here in this game. So I'll take my best bet. I already bet it was under 45 in this game. And if I had to pick a team to win at this point, I'm with you. I think Texas is going to win this game against Vandy. It's not a best bet as of now, but I could see myself getting there at this point throughout the week. It's just hard for me as far as laying a bet on them for against the spread when we know nothing about this other quarterback.
Yeah.
Like we know what Arch is, and I've already heard some arguments got like, well, how can he be much worse than what Arch has been? Like, I know Arch hasn't been like really good or great by any means, but you're still winning games
Mhm.
with him at quarterback. Like, I don't know that this guy can just step in and all of a sudden just be better than what Arch has been so far at this point. We don't know that. It's honestly almost just a funny, like, it's just like people say that because they think it's funny because they love to bang on Arch at this point. I don't think anybody has a clue if this guy would actually be better than what Arch is at any point. But I do have a clue how good the Texas defense is, and that's what I'm leaning on in this game.
Number 18, Oklahoma traveling to Knoxville to play number 14, Tennessee. 7:30 ESPN, sorry, ABC at night. Neyland Stadium. Tennessee, 3-point favorites currently in this game right now. We got Josh Heupel obviously on the sidelines for Tennessee, welcoming in his alma mater, where they went to Norman last year and they got the job done. I think it was 29-15, kind of a breakout game for that offense. And obviously we saw what Oklahoma turned into last year, and that was the game they put in Michael Hawkins, and nothing went well. Tennessee is 26-0 straight up as a home favorite since 2021. They've covered 16 of those games. Tennessee's rush D is the very little strength of that defense that struggled this year. It's not the same Tennessee defense of the past couple of years, but because of that, I don't think OU is going to be able to run the ball. Like, they ran the ball a little bit better against South Carolina a couple weeks ago. They broke off a couple runs against Ole Miss, but because that Tennessee rush D is really good, I don't think that OU is going to be able to run the ball. So can John Mateer, can he dice up that secondary? Because we've seen quarterbacks take advantage of that secondary. I think I read something, it's coming on the top of my mind right now. I think I read something, Jermod McCoy game time decision. He might be back. I know Ricky Gibson's still out, so they've had some injuries in that secondary. Can he dice him up, or is he going to continue to create some of those turnover worthy plays that he's kind of done all year? And it's up to the defense to take advantage of it. He's only played in 2 road games. He's only played at Temple and at South Carolina.
At
So
noon,
this is going to
South
be
Carolina at noon.
yeah, and this is going to be a different animal for him for sure.
That's what I'm most fascinated to see here, man. Like, Mateer's a dog. We know that as far as like tough minded. He's just a tough guy in general, playing through that broken hand. Really good athlete. But I have no idea what he will be like in a moment to where you can't hear yourself think. Everything's just snowballing. against you type deal. Like if you make like again, like you're talking about the turnover worthy plays. You turn the football over in that place, in Neyland Stadium at night, and things can get bad in a hurry there. Which is the reason why you just read that record out loud of what Tennessee is. Like I've said it ad nauseum on this podcast over the years, the 3 years that we've been doing this together. One of the biggest home road dichotomy teams in college football is Tennessee. They're so good at home, and they're just not as good on the road. I know that's a lot of teams aren't as good on the road as they are at home, but they're so much better at home than they are on the road. Like literally all of their losses over the last 3 years, 3.5 years, have come on the road. They've only lost 2 home games in the last 3.5 years, both to the same team, Georgia. And you mentioned that record against, as far as straight up at home as a favorite, they're very rarely an underdog at home. It's rare. Maybe when Alabama every now and then, or like I said, Georgia a couple of times. That's it. So getting Tennessee at a -3 price like this at home is rare, to be honest with you, in a spot like this. But this is borderline. I still think that Oklahoma would have a outside chance at 9-3, but it would be tough to make up for it because again, Oklahoma still has to play Missouri. They still have to play Alabama at the end of the year. They still have to play LSU. They've got that win against Michigan in the non-conference, but this is virtually a playoff game at this point between these two teams. If Tennessee loses, they're out. I don't think they could make up for it with what they've got the rest of their schedule. They'd be out. Oklahoma, very outside chance, but still don't think that they probably would get in at that point. So, yeah, I mean, it's basically a virtual playoff game that we've got this Saturday night. As far as the matchup is concerned, yeah, I mean, that's really where it starts. Oklahoma's offensive line is not good. I'll mention it again, like I mentioned last week. They're one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football last year. Now they're just not any good on the offensive line. They're better than what they were last year, but they're still just not any good. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football against this Tennessee defensive front. Tennessee still does have a very solid defensive front. They were one of the best. They're top 5 in the country in sacks. They're one of the best teams in the country in tackles for a loss. That's because they're good up front. But they are awful in the secondary because of injuries. That's been killing them. So if they do get McCoy back, that is such a huge boost for this Tennessee defense and could be a massive, massive impact in this game. Oklahoma defensively, I mean, it was pretty eye-opening to see how they basically got gashed last week by Ole Miss. And that's a really good offense. By far the best offense they have faced this year. We talked about, like, and I mentioned last week going into that game how Auburn, Michigan, who was it, Texas, and a few of those other, South Carolina, multiple teams that Oklahoma had played up to that point at the Power 4 level were honestly ranked, like the highest ranked offense of any of those teams was Michigan, but none of those teams could throw the football. And obviously Ole Miss exposed them last week. They did. And Tennessee has obviously the offense to be able to do the same. Surprise, surprise, Josh Heupel's offense is ranked in the top 5 in the country again in total offense, averaging over 500 yards per game this year, just like almost every year that he's been a head coach, dating back to his days at UCF. So Oklahoma, with Tennessee, it starts with being able to slow down their running game. Josh Heupel's offenses are not the high-flying type offenses that everybody thinks they are, the casuals think they are. They're a run-first offense. They want to pound the football with those 2 or 3 tailbacks that they got that are all really good, and then they want to take shots down the field off of play action with you. You got to be able to stop the run. Good news for Oklahoma. They got one of the best defensive fronts, if not the best defensive front in all of college football. My problem with Oklahoma is I have no idea, man, if that secondary can cover Tennessee in space. Because that's what you're going to have to do against Josh Heupel's offenses. They're going to put you out on islands in space, make you cover every single inch of that field from a width standpoint and down the field. And what I saw last week in one game against an offense that can really stretch the field, they had problems against that Ole Miss offense, either pass interferences or they couldn't cover them. Either one or the other. So I don't know if that's just what Oklahoma's defense is against the better offenses, or if that's something that one of the best defensive minds in our lifetime, Brent Venables, can fix in 1 week. So I've got a best bet in this game.
Me too.
Yep. I'm taking Tennessee.
Me
Minus
too.
3. Yep, in this game until Tennessee shows me that they're gonna lose a game at home to a team not named Georgia, I'm just gonna back them at home in Knoxville.
Heupel's
And
never lost as a home favorite.
right,
I know
and
that was 2021, all that, but since he's been there in 2022, he's never lost as a home favorite either. So,
yes, I
and
mean,
it, yeah,
if it happens, it happens. That the odds are in our favor on this. But it's not just like I'm not, like as you know, well, like I'm not the biggest like trends guy. Like I do like talking about them and looking into them, but I don't bet on games mostly because of a trend. But that's obviously one that you're just like, okay, it's undefeated. If it loses, it loses. We'll be on the wrong side of history if it loses. But I like the matchup for Tennessee as well in this game. Like I'm more about the matchups themselves. I think I think the biggest mismatch in this game is Tennessee's defensive line. Not defense, but their defensive line versus Oklahoma's offensive line. And I think it's going to put Mateer in really tough spots, and he's going to be running for his life. They're not going to be able to run the football from the traditional running game with the running back. And I just think that's tough, man, when you go on the road in a hostile environment like this at night, if you can't run the football. So I'll take the Vols minus 3 in this game, and for Josh Heupel to go 2-0 against his former squad.
okay. If you want to talk about trends, why don't we head to the Central Time Zone, where the number 23 USC Trojans are facing off against the Nebraska Huskers in Lincoln, Nebraska. 7:30 p.m. kickoff on NBC. Nebraska currently 6.5-point home dogs. And we talk about Central and Eastern Time Zone. We all know that Lincoln Riley, while he's been at USC and USC really in general for the past decade, has seemed to struggle at Central Eastern Time Zones. Mainly, they played a lot of those games against Notre Dame before they got into the Big Ten. Now they play 3 or 4, maybe 5 of those a year. And so they're obviously they lost at Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. That was their last game out, lost by 10. Did not cover the spread. And they did not cover the spread earlier this year against Purdue. Again, and so I can't remember off the top
And
of
they
the
lost straight up to Illinois.
they lost to Illinois straight up. I think they were favored by 6.5 or so in that game.
Yep.
So
Yep.
um, USC, they do. I mean, we talked about their defense a lot and how it was awful last year or 2 years ago, and it seemed to get a little better. Now it's just back to being bad. They do everything poorly on defense. But I don't know how. I'm not sure how Nebraska, if they know how to exploit it, because their offense is really struggling.
Yep.
Dylan Raiola has definitely taken a step forward, but for some reason their offense as a whole can't run the ball. They just have not. I don't know if they can be able to exploit the USC defense like an Illinois team could with a senior quarterback like Luke Altmaier. On the other side of the ball, I think UCLA, or gosh, I am losing it today. I think USC really has a chance to establish the run against that Nebraska run D.
Yeah, I mean USC had a couple key injuries at tailback that are just unfortunate. I'm not sure what the injury situation there is at this very moment, but I do know that the USC passing game and that wide receiver core led by Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane and that crew are just borderline. I mean, you don't stop them. You're not going to stop Mekhi Lemon. You're not going to stop him. He's going to get his. You just got to hope that they're just not major explosive plays that kill you in the game. Uh, on Nebraska's offense, their offensive woes are due because their offensive line is trash. Is the reason why they can't run the football, and the reason why their offense in general is just not very good. Uh, I just don't know. Like at one point this year, USC was amongst the best in the country in sacks and getting tackles for a loss. They were feast or famine, is what they were. So like USC has a couple of guys on that defensive front that could be problematic, younger guys that might be a problem for Nebraska in this game. But I'm kind of with you on the part of like Illinois has Luke Altmaier and had a couple of receivers and whatnot that they could use to exploit that USC defense. They could carve them up. I don't know. Like Dylan Raiola has the ability to be able to do it. Holgerson is a good enough offensive coordinator to dial it up. They've got a couple of really solid receivers to be able to exploit that USC defense. I just like Notre Dame showed us as well. You've got to be able to run the football. against this USC defense. Got to be able to run the ball. I just don't know that Nebraska is good enough along the front, man, to do it. I think the home atmosphere and the crowd and Nebraska overall, obviously, I think it's going to be a really good, like closely contested game. It's just I can't at the moment. I would love because of all those trends that you talked about. Love to try to back Matt Rule at night as an underdog at 6.5 at home. I just hadn't got there yet.
How big of a game do you think this is for each of these coaches? Like for different reasons, obviously.
I think no matter what, unless he leaves on his own, I think no matter what, Lincoln Riley's fine after this year because of the talks of like that fully guaranteed contract to his. And like, I do think that they've got some like momentum in the recruiting and all that stuff that they're going to be bringing in next year. Uh, but
But
yeah,
is the USC fan base, raucous enough to like get some stuff stirred up like they did, obviously, like LSU did with Brian Kelly?
I honestly I don't have my finger on the USC
Yeah.
like on their pulse as well
Yeah.
as I do some of those SEC teams. But yeah, I mean, I could see them like this being like kind of like the way that they got beat by Notre Dame. They lost, like you said, to Illinois, like they did. Them beating Michigan was a big deal for Lincoln Riley, no doubt. And did they have a bye week last week?
They did. I
USC?
think Nebraska, I can't remember if Nebraska played last week or
They
not.
did. Nebraska played Northwestern last week.
Okay, yeah.
I think USC beat Michigan. They had a bye week, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
they lost to Notre Dame, they had a bye week.
Okay. So anyway, I don't know. I looked at the schedule because they lost to
Well,
Notre
I
Dame,
mean,
and then
you talked about Lincoln Riley. I mean, we know he's not going to LSU or Florida because he's not going to go coach in the SEC.
probably not. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere at this
Yeah.
moment. But that would be the only way I could see him going anywhere. Period. Do you think Nebraska's good enough defensively to be able to slow down this USC passing game, like which is like the number one total offense in the country right now in USC?
I mean, I'm struggling to think of like a good passing offense that Nebraska's faced this year. Um, Obviously, they lost to Michigan, but Michigan ran it all over them. That's what Michigan does. They generate like Vanderbilt. They generate explosive runs, and they had multiple in that game with Justin Haynes and Ward
Cincinnati's
Marshall.
the best passing offense that they faced this year, bro. And they're not anything to write home about from a passing standpoint.
I mean, and they for sure weren't. Maybe if they played Cincinnati, now in November, then it'd be a different story. But obviously, that was the first game for a lot of those guys in Cincinnati playing together.
Yeah.
Who was Nebraska's other loss?
It was to Minnesota. They got their cheeks clapped in Minnesota, like spanked
Yeah,
in Minnesota. So you're
yeah, and
right,
that
man.
just
They haven't faced a dude. I haven't looked at. I'd be willing to bet they haven't faced a passing offense that's ranked in the top 50. And USC
probably
is like
not.
the number. USC is one of the top offenses, period, in college football by the numbers.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's going to be tough for me to back Nebraska in this spot. I'm not laying the 6.5 with USC by any means because of those trends, like you said. I mean, Lincoln Riley hasn't shown us that he can go in these Central and Eastern time zones from USC and go win games, cover spreads, anything like that. So I'm not backing them either. It's a no play for me. If I had to play the game, I would say right now, if I had to play it, I would say that USC wins and Nebraska covers at this moment.
yeah. If I had to play it, I'd go with the home dog at night
Same.
with the crowd, and just kind of play on the college football feels there. So
Yep.
under the radar games, we got some ranked teams going on the road once again, one playing at a neutral site. So let's start off in the Big 12. Another game with some massive implications. Number 13, Texas Tech at Kansas State in the Little Apple, 3:30 on Fox. 7.5-point home dogs are Chris Kleiman and the Wildcats right now. Looks like Baron Morton is going to be back for Texas Tech. And if he goes down, we talked about Will Hammond. He's got a torn ACL. He's out for the season. So it looks like it's Mitch Griffiths. If Baron Morton is injury prone as he is, if he goes down, they're down to their third string quarterback on the road against a team that's playing really, really well. But I do think Texas Tech, I mean, just everything I've looked at, and we talked about their offensive line and defensive lines and how their defensive line, they should be able to control both lines of scrimmage, just like they did in Salt Lake City. I mean, their defensive line is up there with some of the best in the entire country.
Yep.
So they're by far the best in the Big 12. So that's where they are going to focus on and win the game. But I mean, like the last 4 games, game grader wise on pick 6, these teams have been performing about even. And I know one of those is at Arizona State with Will Hammond, but just looking at everything, encompassing, these 2 teams have been playing really well. You've been high on Kansas State for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on K-State. After that game at Arizona, they had the bye week. I backed them against UCF. It was a disrespectful line to Chris Kleiman and the Purple Cats. They made them like a 4.5-point favorite at
Yeah.
home against UCF, and they won that game by 2 touchdowns. Uh, then they went on the road at Baylor, was winning the whole ball game, and then they blew it at the end. But still, at Baylor, I mean, Baylor, we've seen Baylor like with the star power they've got on offense in Waco.
Mhm.
They can be tough to play there. TCU is one of the better teams in that upper, half of the Big 12. They spanked TCU at home. They spanked Kansas at Kansas for the 17th straight year. And now this is it. Their season's on the line right now because that loss to Arizona earlier in the year was not a conference game.
Yep.
So anybody with 2 losses or less in the Big 12 is still completely in the mix at this moment. And if K-State were to beat Texas Tech, then obviously they would have the tiebreaker then over Texas Tech because that would be Texas Tech's second Big 12 loss. So Kansas State would then jump right into the middle of the mix of a Big 12 title race if they could win this game. So season on the line moment, back against the wall moment for the Purple Cats at home. Chris Kleiman in Kansas State has been fantastic at home ever since he's been the coach at Kansas State. I actually went back and looked at it. They have not had very many ranked opponents come into the Little Apple, though, since he's been there. Like last year, for example, they lost to Arizona State in a huge game that was Big 12 championship implications on the line. I think it was sometime in November.
Mhm.
And I actually backed Kansas State in that game. And Arizona State ended up spanking them at K-State. And Arizona State was ranked in that game. But I think that's really one of the only ranked opponents that they've played at home over the last few years. So this will be the best, not just from a rank standpoint, but this will be the best team that Kansas State has faced at home in a while.
I mean, probably since the last time like an Oklahoma team came in there, which they used to beat Oklahoma like almost every year when
Agreed.
Lincoln Riley was there. So
It really is. As far as the talent is concerned, and as far as the type of players that Texas Tech has on both sides of the line of scrimmage, especially along that defensive front, that Shieldwood Texas Tech defense, this is the best team that K-State will have faced. But this is just an awful spot for Texas Tech to catch this Kansas State team. Kansas State is one of the better teams in the Big 12. I know their record is what it is right now, but they are one of the best teams in this conference. So I still firmly believe that. And they're catching them in the back against the wall, season on the line moment, playing the best ball that they've played all year. For us as fans, this is all you could ask for to get. There's like 6 or 7 teams in the Big 12 that if you're getting them at their best, fully healthy against each other, that's where that -3.5, +3.5 flip a coin that Andy Staples and Ari talk about. Deal in the Big 12 where you get really good close games like we got with Texas Tech and Arizona State a couple of weeks ago, Baylor, Kansas State a few weeks ago, and TCU, Arizona State a few weeks ago. We keep getting these types of games, BYU, Utah. I think that you're going to get that type of game here. I don't have a best bet in this game at this moment. It'd be hard for me, man, not to take the points of 7.5 with Kansas State here at home, getting that many points. I think K-State's going to step up and give guns up all they want in this spot. But I'm taking Texas Tech to win this game, though.
yeah, I mean, you talked about the spot, Kansas State backs against the wall, and not to mention, I mean, I already hear rumblings on the internet of game day going to Texas Tech
Mm-hmm.
next week for the
Mm-hmm.
BYU game. You know that people start talking college kids as much as they want to say they block everything out. They don't block. They're on their phones all the time. They know everything. They know everything that's going on, everything that's being said. And we can talk, next week about that Texas Tech BYU game being an 11 a.m. kick, just disrespectful to the game of college football. But
By the
I'm
way,
taking
hot take here. This is a bigger game for Texas Tech than that game is.
Probably right.
No, I think it is. I think this is a bigger game for Texas Tech. The fact that it's on the road at one of the best home teams
Mhm.
in the Big 12 is Kansas State. And I mean, we could talk about this for a later day, but right now, if Kansas State and BYU played on a neutral field, do you just feel certain that BYU is going to win that game?
No.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't, honestly, I wonder what that line would be. But point being is, this game being on the road at Kansas State, this is a bigger spot and a bigger game for Texas Tech at this moment. I know the records of the team don't say that, but that's just how I feel about that in this spot. Like that's how good Kansas State's playing right now.
Well, this is one of the better home atmospheres we talked about when we were doing our, home atmospheres and best, toughest places to play. Like this was up there with like Kinnick Stadium, was like having some of the best like home records against
Yep.
anybody and home against the spread records too, like
Yep.
covering the spread. Chris Kleiman 7-3 against the spread as a home dog in his career at K-State with
Yeah.
5 outright wins.
Yep.
30-13 at home straight up. Joey McGuire on the other side, 3-5 against the spread as a road favorite. Best bet, I'm taking Kansas State plus 7.5 in this game.
Okay. Don't blame me one bit.
Next game, number 10, Miami going down to Dallas, Texas to play the SMU Mustangs. 12.5-point favorites are the Hurricanes for a noon kick on ESPN. You know I love those road teams at noon. SMU can't run the ball.
Nope.
They flat out can't run the ball. They've got issues there. They've got issues on their pass defense. 135th ranked pass defense out of 136th in the country. One thing they can do is they can stop the run. They have actually done pretty well opponent adjusted against the run this year. So I think this is going to be a Carson Beck game. I think he's got to go win this game for Miami. Which Carson Beck are we going to get? It's Jekyll and Hyde with this guy. All right. I mean, we're going to get the Carson Beck who showed up against Notre Dame, who showed up against Florida and USF, or we're going to get the Carson Beck who showed up against Louisville at home.
So here, but that I want to ask you about that. And I've defended him probably more than anybody on the planet. To be honest with you, you say Jekyll and Hyde. Like I've heard a lot of people saying that this week too. Like which version are we going to get of Carson Beck? We've got a good version of him in every game but one this year. And in that one game, it was awful, catastrophically bad, couldn't be worse. The amount of interceptions and turnovers in that game, they were -3 in the turnover margin in that game against a really good Louisville team. And that Louisville team, their best players, Bell at wide receiver, Isaac Brown at tailback, all had huge games for them. All of that happened. And they lost by 3 points. That is how good this Miami team is, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They could not have played worse. Louisville actually played pretty well, and they still only lost by 3 points in that game. And Carson Beck has played well in every game except that one. And you just mentioned it, the pass defense for SMU. Dude, SMU's feast or famine defensively. I don't know if you've looked at all the numbers. Like they're decent in like sacks and tackles for a loss and like you said, the rush defense. So they're playing pretty well up front, like overall. But like it literally is feast or famine. The amount of points per game and the pass defense and all that is just so bad. Do you think SMU's offensive line is going to be able to do anything with Messidor and Ruben Bain, and that Miami defensive front?
Listen, man, I don't want to talk about matchups. I want to talk about the coaching matchup. Okay, that's what I want to get to. Who are we taking, Rhett Lashley or Mario Cristobal?
I mean,
that's what I want to talk about because that's where I think SMU can win the game. That's really, again, that's one of the few places that they can win the game. Like if it was just those two going up head to head and X's and O's calling matchup or whatever, like.
But it's not though. That's the thing. It's not.
I know.
Like
I know.
Cristobal's got two elite coordinators, which is the reason why they're so dang good. He's really good at recruiting and motivating and all that type of stuff. And then he's got two elite coordinators.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna get so much crap for me calling out Mario Cristobal again. Like I know it's coming. It's already coming. Bring on the comments.
Canes fans are going to jump on you for that. But I've got 135th ranked pass defense going up against an offense coached by Shannon Dawson.
And I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if we get average Carson Beck, he's still got Malachi Tony. He's still got CJ Daniels, a
Yep.
plethora of options to throw to. I mean, Malachi Tony could absolutely go off
Yep.
in this game.
And this is by far the best offensive line that SMU has faced,
Yeah.
and it's not even close. This is by far the best defensive line that SMU has faced, and it's not even close. And I can't believe I'm saying that because they've played Clemson, and we talked about what we thought Clemson's defensive line would be before the year, and it just, yeah, they're not what they were type deal. And then even anyway, uh,
Yeah, I thought at the beginning of the year, like, just I saw these road trips from Miami. They had 3 road trips in the month of November because their schedule was so home loaded in the front.
yeah,
They gotta go to Virginia Tech, they had to go to SMU in November, and then they gotta go to Pitt. We talked about that game, it's in a month. It's gonna be freezing in Pittsburgh. Dallas still gets pretty cold. I bet it'll be probably mid-50s, at kickoff there at 11 AM local time. I just don't know. It probably to affect some of those Miami boys, it probably have to get into the 40s, and I just don't know if it's gonna do that. It has to get windy. I don't have any bets in this game at all. Um, I could honestly like, yeah, I mean, I know which way you're gonna lean. Like, I could see Miami blowing them out, but like, it just, I don't know. If the college football fan in me is like, man, like laying that many points on the road against like a solid coaching staff, like a dynamic quarterback who could still bust out at any moment. But that's why it's just a stay away from me. But I think Miami's gonna win the game.
yeah, I do have a best bet in this game. I've got Miami minus 12. I know it's a 12 and a half right this second, but I bet it yesterday at minus 12 because it started going up. Uh, and I was a little surprised that it started going up. But yeah, I've got Miami minus 12 in this game. I just think that Miami on the line of scrimmage is going to be able to dominate this football game. I do think that pass defense being what it is for SMU, I think Shannon Dawson's offense and that scheme will be able to carve SMU up. It won't shock me if Jennings has some success being able to make some plays with his feet and whatnot. But I just think Miami overall defensively with their pass rushers and that defensive front is going to be able to neutralize Kevin Jennings and what he does best. And yeah, I just think this is a situation, man, where there's just too many Jimmys and Joes on that other side for Miami. And Corey Heatherman, defensive coordinator, and Shannon Dawson, offensive coordinator. I just think this is I do think SMU has Miami's full attention. I do think that SMU being that other team that made the playoffs last year over them and going to the ACC championship game like that, I think there is a little something there as well from Miami. And I have no idea if there's anything to this or not, but we also know Rhett Lashley coached under Cristobal at one point as the offensive coordinator at Miami when
Mhm.
Cristobal first got the job there for the Canes before he went and took over the SMU job, if I'm not mistaken. And wasn't Lashley the OC under Cristobal? Or is
I
it
think
or
so.
is well, no, he might have been the OC under, Manny Diaz, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Miami fans, let me know if I made a mistake on that, but I think,
Yeah.
Lashley was definitely OC at Miami. I just can't remember if it was under Manny Diaz or under, Cristobal. But, yeah, I've got the Canes in this game minus 12. I think they're gonna take care of business and win this game by 2 touchdowns plus and score a lot of points against SMU.
One more game to talk about, then we'll get to upset alerts and best bets. The cocktail party. We got to talk about it. Number 5, Georgia versus Florida. 3:30 ABC kick down in Jacksonville. This is the last time it's going to be in Jacksonville, I think, until 2028 because they're doing some stupid thing. I don't know. Florida comes in as 7-point dogs, um, which is surprising because I feel like last year, you can correct me if I'm wrong, last year, that game when DJ Lagway, started that game, got injured, I want to say the spread was more last year,
It
but
was.
I just feel like, I feel like and maybe it's because Billy Napier has just been fired. We don't know how the Gators are going to perform in their first game without him, but it feels like this season's like going worse for them. Obviously, we know how that last season ended, so maybe that's skewing my thoughts a little bit. Everyone's talking about the Georgia offense, like they played really, really well against Tennessee. They played really well against Tennessee, but opponent adjusted for factor in the defense. They're only 35th in opponent adjusted offense. Um, but somehow Florida's offense has been worse. It's
Oh,
been worse.
yeah.
Um, they did, light it up a little bit against Texas, a good defense there. So they've shown they can do it against a good defense. Dallas Wilson, I mean, we saw how important he is to this offense. So if they have any hope at all, they've got to get the Lagway to Wilson connection going early. But again, Billy Gonzalez, his first game as interim coach. They had a bye week. Georgia had a bye week, so both teams coming unrested. And it's a neutral site, so it's not going to be like the crowd's totally against you. And we did see what that team could do last year in the first half with DJ Lagway before he got injured. So, any chance Florida surprises us this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just when you're dealing with a team that has the talent, overall talent across the board that Florida has. At any moment, we saw it against Texas. At any moment, if they come out and their own, they could be a problem, man, for anybody. They're really good defensively. There's been nothing wrong with Florida's defense this year. Florida's defense has been very good. I think that this is, if not the best defense they faced, the second best defense that Georgia has faced this year. Them and Alabama were the two best defenses that they have faced. We know that Florida has some difference makers along that defensive front that can cause a lot of problems. Florida's got two really good linebackers that can make plays. So, yeah, I think that Florida defensively can give Georgia some problems here without question. And we know the talent that's there for Lagway and the Dallas Wilsons and the Vernell Brown and the Trey Wilson and Jaden Baugh at tailback. I mean, there's talent everywhere, all over that Florida offense. I just have no idea what to expect with a new play caller, and maybe it's a good thing. I know, according to Florida fans and everybody else, the problem with Billy Napier was him calling plays, and that some of the problems with Florida has been him calling plays. Well, we're going to find out this week. Maybe it's a boost. I don't know. That's why I'm not touching this. That's why I'm not touching this game, man. I'm not going to lay the touchdown plus with Georgia in this game because, dude, hot take. Again, I don't think this is really a hot take. I don't care what the freaking recruiting rankings tell me. I know that the players that are on these rosters, I don't think that there's some just drastic difference in the talent on the field between this year's Georgia team and this year's Florida team. I think there's more difference makers along the Florida defensive line than I think there are the Georgia defensive line. Yeah, you agree?
Is this more of a live betting situation? Maybe you see the offenses for, a drive or two and then kind of say, okay, Florida really hasn't changed much, or like, oh, maybe, Florida, they're opening up a little bit on offense.
Yeah, honestly, yes. Like, Florida absolutely could win this game. Like, they're good.
I'd say what a live bet for me would be is if Florida goes up 7 or 14 nothing, I'm going to take Georgia
there you
all
go.
day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because honestly, that happens in most Georgia games, and they all of a sudden turn it on in the second half.
Yeah, second half team.
Yeah, agreed. But it's just hard for me, obviously, with a new coach and all of that, for me to pick Florida outright to win at this moment. So, game pick that I've got, I'll take Georgia to win the game, but I don't have a best bet at all in this game. I think, though, it could be a really, really good, like, classic cocktail party type game with overall Florida's talent that they've got to be able to match up with Georgia, no doubt.
It's time to start a new streak, my friend. As I mentioned, we went on a 4-game winning streak to start the season, then we lost, and then we went on another 4-game winning streak. So we had 2 separate 4-game winning streaks, an upset alert. Who did I take last week? North Carolina?
No, you took North Carolina, and I took Mississippi State, and it took overtimes in both of those games to take down our I think we won, like you said, 8 of 9 or something.
Yeah, so now 8 of 10.
8 of 10 at this point, but it took 2 overtimes to take us down, bro.
These are moneyline upset picks. Got to be more than a 4-point dog. So it'll be, around plus 180 on the money line, plus 160 on the money line. So I'm going to let you do the honors and go first for us this time.
Yeah, I'm going to go out west to where it gets weird, at Berkeley.
It even gets weird at 12:45 local time there.
It does. It does. Strange time for a team that has just been escaping week after week. Virginia, 1 loss, Virginia going across country to face the Calgorithm and old JKS, and Cal coming off a loss in Blacksburg this past week on Friday night. Now they're back home in Berkeley, getting 4.5 points from UVA. I'm putting Virginia on upset alert. and believe that Cal is going to win this game outright. So I'm definitely taking a best bet of Cal at plus 4.5 and spring. I'm going to do what I do every week in these games. I'm taking plus 4.5 with Cal, and I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit on the money line as well for them to upset and end Virginia's little Cinderella story that they have going on right now.
I'm with you, man. I like it. I'm taking a Cal plus 4.5 too, and I will take him on the money line. My affinity for Justin Wilcox. He's 14-6-1 against the spread as a home dog at Cal. You mentioned Virginia, man, the biggest frauds in the top 25 right now. And sorry, Walk On Moose, for that. I know he doesn't want any Wahoo slander, but there's Wahoo slander all over Always Talking Ball. They've won their last 3 games by a combined 6 points. And then before that, it took them double overtime to beat the Florida State Seminoles, who apparently anybody can beat. So they are flirting with disaster. We took North Carolina last week. We lost by 6 inches in that game. So, of course, we're going to go against them again. I am going to go down to the state of Texas, and I'm going to get a little spooky. I'm going to get a little spooky on Halloween, man. Friday night game. I'm taking the food. I'm taking Rice. I'm taking Rice to pull the upset against Memphis and definitely cover that 14-point spread against the Tigers and Ryan Silverfield. This is a Ryan Silverfield type game, man. Like 2 weeks ago, we saw what they lost to UAB as favorites. Then he goes back home and bam, he's got a massive victory. They are now the driver's seat for the G5 playoff spot, right? You got to go 6 days later. You got to go play Rice. Since 2023, Rice is 7-1 against the spread as home dogs with 5 outright wins in those 8 games. Ryan Silverfield, 14-14 on the road in his career at Memphis. Just a 500 record on the road. And you know some of those have come, we know for sure some of those has come as double-digit favorites. So I'm going to roll the dice with Rice. That would be our biggest win of the year for upset alert at 14 points, and haven't even looked at the money line, but it's around, plus 360 something, I'm guessing. I don't know.
My in-laws are going to be really sad with that one, man. But
You know what?
I'm definitely not disagreeing with you with that 14-point spread. I think that's a lot of points to lay after that huge
Halloween,
emotional.
dude. It's Halloween.
Yeah,
Things are going to
dude.
get crazy.
Huge emotional win against South Florida this past week. Now they're going on the road. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. That's going to be a tough spot for Memphis in this game. Doing that would be just honestly fitting for them. They beat all these good teams at home year after year, and they lose games like UAB on the road, and then like if they lose to freaking Rice, then they'll come back home and play Tulane at home in Memphis and beat them.
Yep.
That's just that would be beyond fitting for that team.
We're just getting some really good numbers on these Memphis games. So we got a good number last week against USF. So we're gonna capitalize here. But let's finish it off with our best bets. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm 34-27. You're 33-26. Basically identical records. We've really turned it around since that 2023 season when we started the show.
Yep.
And we were struggling big time, thinking like, we're never going to bet again. I'm done betting on college football. But we're back. We're getting used to things. We're getting used to the new world of college football, the transfer portal, the coaches, the NIL. If you were listening, 2-3 weeks ago, I gave out Penn State, Ohio State under 48.5. I think it's down to under 43.5. Gosh, I would still even look at it there. Like it's just Ohio State, borderline the best defense in the country. I'm not sure how Penn State is going to be able to do anything against them. And then Ohio State, their offense just kind of plays real slow. Like they realize really early in the game what they need to do and what they don't need to do. And I don't know if this is going to be a game where like they're just looking to put it on Penn State. I don't think they're going to try to embarrass like the defense, right? Why would they want to embarrass the defense of the defensive coordinator of Penn State?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, you might want to check that. They might want to, if they can, they might want to embarrass the Penn State defense in this game if they can.
So they may go out and ruin this one for me, win 49-0, and there goes the under. So I'm going to take them. I'm going to take Rice plus 14, like I mentioned. Kansas State plus 7.5. I got them. Tennessee -3 and Cal plus 4.5. I'm going to add 3 more here. I'm gonna take the Hoosiers minus 21.5. Like, it's just, I mean,
Why
we
not?
done we done like losing chances to bet on Kurt Signetti yet or what? Like,
Yeah,
I just
they
think,
kill everybody, so why not?
yeah, massive coaching mismatch against Mike Loxley.
Yeah.
I just think this defense for Indiana is for real, and they're going up against a freshman and Malik
Mhm.
Washington. Signetti had his Monday press conference, and he was at it again, like talking about this Maryland team. He's not going to let his dudes lose focus at all. He's coaching 20 regular season games in Indiana, and he's 14-6 against the spread in all of them.
Yep.
So I'm going to take Indiana minus 21.5. I'm gonna keep rolling. I'm gonna keep rolling on the Mason Heinzel train, man. I'm gonna keep rolling with Pitt minus 14 all the way out to Palo Alto against Stanford. I took them last week minus 6.5. I thought they should have been a double digit favorite, and they ended up winning by 19 against NC State. Their offense is just absolutely humming right now, putting up 53 points last week. And I know it's a cross country trip. Um, but I don't know. There's just something about this kid playing quarterback for them. And I know Stanford's pulled a couple upsets this year so far, and they were hanging in with Miami the first half. I think Pitt is going to be able to get the job done by more than 2 tutties. Last pick, I'm going to take the Golden Gophers minus 3 against Michigan State. I don't have the stat in front of me, man, but PJ Fleck could not have taken too many beatings like he took last week against Iowa. Um, he's covered and won 57% of his games after a loss in his career at Minnesota. So I'm going to roll the dice. I mean, you're basically telling me Minnesota and Michigan State are the same team. I've seen both those teams play this year, and Michigan State has at borderline looked lifeless at times. And a couple weeks ago, we just saw Minnesota whoop up on Nebraska 24-6 at home. I'm going to take Minnesota minus 3 all day in this matchup.
Man, we match up on so many games, it's insane, and we have not talked about our
Yeah,
bets at all.
Cole's going to hate that.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. We have not talked at all about any of our bets. So here we go, man. I'm about to rattle off multiple of ones that you just said
Okay.
on yours. So uh, I guess our records are either going to look really good still after this or look really bad. So yes, I've got obviously I gave out a minute ago to upset alert with Virginia, putting them on upset alert against Cal. So I've got Cal plus 4.5 as a best bet, and we'll sprinkle a little bit on the money line. Tennessee minus 3 at home against Oklahoma. You know, Josh Heupel's undefeated as a favorite at home against the spread at Tennessee, or undefeated straight up, sorry,
Yep.
as a favorite at home at Tennessee. And again, they've only lost 2 home games, period, in the last 3.5 years. That both of those were to Georgia as underdogs. So I think they're going to get it done against Oklahoma at home this week. Texas Vandy under 45. That is a play on Texas's offense being booty and Texas's defense still being really dang good. And Vandy, the type of offense that they run is possess the football, time of possession, try to really keep your offense off the field, converting on third downs. That's also really good for an under. So I'll take under 45 in that game. Miami minus 12. I just think this is a mismatch of Jimmy's and Joe's. I also like the coordinator matchup there with Shannon Dawson offensively against a really bad passing defense. I still believe in Carson Beck. I haven't jumped off that train, and I'm not going to now. And I think that Miami's defensive front is going to cause a lot of problems for Kevin Jennings and that SMU offense. I've got Utah minus 8. Again, we've got a team here that's the lower ranked team. I know it's not an unranked, but they're a lower ranked team, and they're laying like 8.5 right now, but I got it at 8. It jumped all the way up to 9.5. I just think this Utah team on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and I have to have it back against the wall, season on the line game at night in Rice Eccles. I'm gonna back Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley one more time here and see if I can be profitable with them in this spot. So 2 games that you gave out a minute ago. It's hilarious. All these games on the board, and these are kind of random that we both line up. I'm with you on Pitt, bro. Like Pitt's a wagon right now.
Yep.
They have played really good football since going to that freshman quarterback, and they're a problem in the ACC right now. And Stanford, I still just don't think Stanford's a very good football team. I don't. Just because they upset Florida State uh, a couple of weeks ago does not make me think that they're all of a sudden just a much better football team. I think this is a step up in class, and I think Pitt and that offense, like you said, will lay it on them on the farm this weekend. And last one, Minnesota minus 3 for all the reasons you said. I'll back PJ Fleck and the Gophers at home. He's been solid at home as a head coach there. They had 1 year that was like 2 or 3 years ago that was the outlier. But every year that he's been there, dude, Minnesota's winning 8 or 9 games a year every year that he's been there, other than that 1 year that was the outlier. And they're always good at home. Like you said, they spanked Nebraska already at home. And they beat, I believe it was Rutgers a couple of weeks ago, too, at home.
Uh-huh.
So Michigan State, huge rivalry game against
Yeah.
Michigan. Obviously, you know how that works too. When you've got really nothing to play for other than trying to salvage your season by beating your arch rival, as much as you put into that to try to do that, they lose at night at home against Michigan. Now they got to go on the road to play a very wounded animal Minnesota team. So I think the Gophers will get it done and cover the -3. So that is my best bet.
Wounded gopher mode.
Gopher mode. That's right. Wounded Gopher mode.
All right, that's it for us. Week 10 is upon us. It's going to be a fun week. We got week 11 already on deck. We're already thinking about a lot of those games, catching a lot of early lines. We'll be back on Sunday night, Monday morning for a little guest spread, give you some early lines. We'll give our reaction to whatever happens this Saturday, November 1st, and what happens on Halloween night with Rice taking on Memphis. So we'll be back on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.